Hi, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about Cisco and Mobility Field Day 11. My name is Roel Dionisio. I'm here with my co-host, Francois Verges. How are you doing, Francois?
Very good, Roel. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to hear about all these new things from Mobility Field Day. Cisco has quite a good update with their product line and what they've been working on. Of course, the 6 gigahertz and Wi-Fi 7, that's a big update for many companies this year. So I don't think there's too much to say other than companies are like, hey, we've got Wi-Fi 6E now. We'll have a Wi-Fi 7 AP, but Nicholas was talking about this Wi-Fi trifecta of readiness, which was having the regulatory stuff in order, right? Your specs, certifications, but then having clients that have the support, and then having the infrastructure to support both the clients and your APs, all that stuff. So to me, like Wi-Fi 7 wasn't too big of an update, but they talk about what's coming out, especially with MLO. MLO seems to be the most important, or not the most important, but the most sought after feature of Wi-Fi 7, right? Every vendor seems to talk about MLO. And with MLO, multi-link operation, I think what Nick was trying to tell us was multi-link to the same AP, not two different APs. So that means being able to use different bands from one client. So if I've got my phone, it should be able to connect to the same AP on 6 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, or even maybe 5 and 2.4 gigahertz, whatever it may be. But MLO itself is also complicated because there's 4 different types of MLO, which introduces a whole new slew of acronyms, right? You got MLMR, 2 different types of there, and then MLSR and EMLSR. So even I still don't know what those are. Do you?
No, I think I still need to do some studying on the MLO.
Yeah,
There's also, I
we'll
think
have an
MLO,
episode.
yeah,
Sorry,
MLO
go
is
ahead.
one of these technologies where, you have the theory, you have what's defined in the standards,
Yes.
and then the reality will be a little bit different because they're very complex in nature. That it pretty much adds like a MAC layer. So I'm guessing to implement, it's not very trivial. So I'm not expecting all vendors implementing all of the different variants of MLO. So they probably look at what's giving us the most amount of reliability and better performance. So they'll probably kind of ways what is useful and one can help. And you're right, the the MLO to one AP, it's a good to kind of refocus the expectations about the technology and then the misconceptions that
Mhm.
we could have about the technology just based on the name. So it's nice to kind of have that education from the vendors on
Yeah.
these technos, because they're the one implementing it, testing it, so they
Yes.
have the knowledge to share.
Yeah, exactly. And how they implement it will help you understand how it works, right? Because they're interpreting the standard. And then once the clients come out with MLS support, we'll figure out how they implement it. So it'll be interesting to see. The other update that they came out with was AFC and standard power. Did you know that there are 44 APs certified for standard power today, and 20 of them are actually Cisco APs? So I thought that was a pretty interesting statistic, and I didn't even know we had that many certified APs for standard power today. I think that is good to hear. And when it comes to Cisco and controllers, the 9800, I think 17.12.3 will have the support for standard power and AFC, and then Meraki sometime around, or it has been around since mid-April, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many of us are actually using. I don't have any of those APs to test standard power. But it would be
Mhm.
nice to see it in action and deploy 6 gigahertz outdoors.
So yeah, a couple of things related to standard power. First is, yeah, I would love to know in the real world how many people are deploying 6 gigahertz outdoor, and what their experience is. What I've learned about Cisco is apparently all of the Wi-Fi 6E access points are already certified for standard
Mm,
power. So
okay.
even the indoor one, if you get the GPS module that you can connect to the USB port, then you should be able to use it, or I guess
Yeah.
unlock the standard power mode from these APs. Um, so if you have a 6 gigahertz AP, from Cisco Meraki, I think once they have it available in the software, I'm thinking we should be able to start testing it. Um, so this is good, but I still haven't done any standard power on my end.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, and then we also need to make sure that the client devices we are using
Yeah.
are standard power compatible.
Yeah, I guess we should see how many clients, our dual clients, have been able to be certified for not just LPI but also
Mhm.
standard power. So I think that that'll be key as well. I'll try to look up that stat because or within Wi-Fi Alliance page. That'll be interesting to see. And then later on, Mincy came on, the product manager for Meraki, to talk about all these new features that Meraki's coming out with. The first thing is this proactive PCAP and root cause analysis. Now, the PCAP portion is not like very, to me, like as innovative because we've had this functionality for a while. Um, and not just with Meraki, but with other vendors have done it. But where I think Meraki goes one step further is being able to analyze that PCAP for you and tell you what's going on in it. Because it's one thing to have a PCAP, but do you know how to read through it and find what you need to find? Or do you know what you're looking for? So having a PCAP itself is not very useful unless you have that assessment of the PCAP. And so with the CloudShark integration, you'll be able to see the PCAP within the dashboard, but then get an analysis portion that tells you some different summaries of the tests, what issues arise. And when you click on them, it'll actually give you a view and go, hey, I did not see a DHCP offer for, these transaction IDs, that kind of thing. What do you think about
Mhm.
that, Francois?
Yeah, I think it's nice for us engineers to be able to kind of tie the event to the actual frames. I think what vendors essentially want to get to is just like the root cause, right? They just want to maybe in the background analyze the frames, use the AI engine to kind of train the system and everything, and at the end be able to tell you that you have a DHCP issue and the server with that IP address is not responding. But for us engineers, it's nice to have the event and be able to kind of correlate it with the frames. And this could be, kind of like the proof. I'm like, okay, here we have the proof in
Yeah.
the frames. We usually set up packet never lies. This is the truth, and we have the proof here. And then we need this as in network engineers because you know that the next step for us is go back to the DHCP guy and
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
him check your
Here's the
DHCP. And
proof.
if we don't arrive with proof, the guy is like, oh, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
So
And
uh,
leave it to network engineers to have to deal with that. But that
exactly.
feature itself, which I thought was pretty neat, I think they had said the beta is coming out after Cisco Live. We are recording this at the end of Cisco Live currently, so hopefully that feature will be coming out pretty soon. I'll probably look into my dashboard access and see if that's there, just to test it out. Um, One thing with RRM, because RRM is such a big piece of Cisco and Meraki, they did talk about using AI with RRM and how there's a closed loop AI operation and some telemetry from the Wi-Fi device that gets used with RRM. Other than that, all I think is that they just put AI in front of RRM. I don't think there was like a deep dive into into how AI actually is used with RRM. I think if we had a little bit more detail, technical detail around that, that would be great. But
Mhm.
that was probably the only AI thing mentioned with Cisco. I don't think, well, at least my notes don't show anything else, which is good in
Yeah,
my opinion.
at, looking at Meraki and how the dashboards is evolving, it looks like they're integrating more and more enterprise features into the dashboard, and then they're also integrating now the Catalyst hardware. So it looks like there's like not a migration, but they wanted to provide like an alternative enterprise, like fully supported enterprise solutions in the cloud to their controllers. That's what it looks like to me, anyway. So once again, there's kind of like this trend to move to the cloud and take advantage of the cloud.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of that, it's not like the controllers are going away anytime soon. They are still
Mhm.
there. And Dave Benham actually talked about the controllers and some of the new features coming out there, such as AP auto locate, which is a way for the access points to be automatically positioned on a map. So you can use
Mhm.
this within spaces, also on the Meraki dashboard and within Catalyst Center. And so the Meraki piece, I think, is now out in public beta. I think you can sign up for that. And for me, that part is useful as someone who's deploying APs. I think it's that part saves a lot of time when you're trying to place APs correctly on the map. And so what this will do is use the AP with the GPS capability in there. I'm not sure if that counts with the GPS module, but without the AP, without the GPS, it'll use fine time measurement or fine timing measurement
Mhm.
in order to d- determine where the AP should be. Because the APs will talk to each other if it's not
Mhm.
using GPS, but you would have to anchor at least some of those APs on the floor plan. And so the other portion of that update with auto locate is using other use cases like wayfinding and barcode scanning tracking. Nothing out of the ordinary with location stuff, but um, maybe if we saw kind of the evolution of these use cases, like we know wayfinding as kind of like a blue dot kind of thing where you navigate somewhere. Has any of that changed with the developments of the APs themselves and anything different with location? Is it more accurate than it was before? I think that would have been pretty interesting to see. And with that,
Mhm.
at the end, Dave mentions there's new controllers coming out. Basically, more capabilities. I think some of them have higher port density or port speeds as well. And yeah, hardware's still there. It's still humming. It's not all about cloud.
Yeah, and to go back to the location as well, I think the location will be over Wi-Fi will be even more accurate if we have the client device support fine time measurements. Because right now you have the APs talking, to one another, and using that to kind of figure out location and stuff. But if we can have the client device implement that, and fine time measurement is pretty much part of the 802.11 standard. So that could be part of the communications, the Wi-Fi frames between the client and the AP. Then we could start, having better location over Wi-Fi, using Wi-Fi of the client devices. So maybe that's something we can hope to see in the future. Maybe Cisco can help with their whole ecosystem. Maybe you'll talk about this, but they're trying to create like an ecosystem with vendors, with client device vendors. So maybe they can help in making this happen in the future, so everyone kind of supports the same set of protocols.
Yeah, so let's talk about clients themselves, right? Because Meraki, the way they've tried to determine how the network is operating and getting this quality of experience is by doing something new with like health scores, network health scores. So you're able
Hmm.
to figure out what the client experience is on wireless versus wired, be able to look at network devices and see how they're performing, and then try to tie that all into the dashboard, right? So now they've got new alerts, a new alert capabilities. There's a new page for organizational alerts page where you can see trends and analytics. But of course, this is all from like the infrastructure point of view. And like you said, Francois, it would be great to get client devices integrated somehow with maybe an API and also using the standards. But Meraki does go one step further with trying to implement their Thousand Eyes acquisition, right? So you got Thousand Eyes, and you'll be able to integrate that with Meraki using the Meraki MX. There'd be an agent installed there. You could also install an agent on a device. They didn't go too much into like what kind of device that could be, but it would be interesting if you could put it on some other device on your network to gauge experience, and also being able to install agents in the cloud. So you can get now this end-to-end view with Thousand Eyes of how your network's performing from the wireless perspective through your wired network and then out into the cloud. And then with all of that, they integrate it with Splunk. And so now you've got all this logging with Splunk and being able to do more specific alerts. And I think for me with Splunk, where I get confused is if you've got Meraki's, like why use Splunk if you've got the dashboard that also shows the logs as well? And I think to me, there could be some confusion with some customers as to what they should go with, but they've got this like they're building this ecosystem around their cloud platforms and also with the Catalyst platform in order to have one holistic solution. I think they're still working on it. I think the messaging is not quite there yet. But if you want to use like Thousand Eyes with your MX, you do need the MX SD-WAN license to use that. And then when you talked about the ecosystem, Jerome Henry came on, and I haven't heard from Jerome in so long. I think from like many years ago at Cisco Live is when I last saw him. But this ecosystem partnership that they have with other companies like Apple is something that they put on the roadmap where they think 5 to 8 years down the line. And if you remember how Cisco and Apple had this special integration with their controllers, and you'd be able to get a little bit more client statistics, that kind of thing. That's part of their ecosystem, right? So a lot of these companies, they come together to help drive improvements to the standards, but Cisco and some of their partners, they try to go beyond the standard. And so I think they're calling that Standards Plus, where some of the things they develop end up going into the standard. But then there are things even beyond that, beyond the standards themselves, where it's more partner specific. And I think this is where they have their special sauce, right? So if you want those additional insights from your Apple devices or from Zebra or, down to the chip level, then those are very specific, partner specific improvements that we'll see. And maybe that's where we'll see some of that client details, client analytics.
Yeah, what I like about this and the way they're doing it is they're not just doing it to just have one more proprietary feature to their solution. They're doing this, they're designing it from the ground up to just be using things available in the standards or almost available in the standards. So potentially everyone could use it in the future, or potentially they could add it as a feature to the standards. So they're actually using, Wi-Fi frames, information elements, and stuff like this, like as part that's pretty much built into Wi-Fi to try to make this work. And I think it's very smart because it will, it would be easier to convince other people to use it if everyone kind of agrees on the format and the benefits. And I believe last year at the Wi-Fi Now conference, Cisco, they were presenting and talking about this, and I believe that they already had stuff going on with Intel. I believe Qualcomm at the time, where you could get a little bit more information from the Wi-Fi chip of the client device, and Cisco was able to kind of ingest that data, and then you could do things related to the application as well. So as we've been complaining, I don't know if complaining the right word, but we've been talking a lot as Wi-Fi operators about the client devices. So it feels like the vendors have the same issues. They've heard the message, and they're trying to improve things on that end. And it's nice to see, like you've talked about the partnerships and stuff, but Cisco, they talked about, the fact that they are working with companies like Intel, Apple, Samsung, Qualcomm, Broadcom, the main chipset manufacturers, Zebra. So it's nice to see that most of the main players are kind of on in the same boat.
Yeah, I think it's really coming along, but it's taking a long time. And of course, like you got to get all the vendors and manufacturers talking together. But
Mhm.
we'll see how that comes along in the next few years. I think it will get to a certain spot, but I don't know. But I think we'll hear more maybe in the next Mobility Field Day if Cisco is also presenting there. I'd like them to go more into this partnership because maybe more specific details around what they've implemented in their solutions in order
Mhm.
to make a
Yeah.
better experience for everybody. But that's Cisco at Mobility Field Day. If you guys have any comments or if there's anything you want to add to the conversation, we would like you to guys provide your input and let us know what you guys think. But we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.